Writing a book can be a fun and exciting process, but what most authors don't realize is that the writing is only half the battle to getting a good book out into the world. The other half is everything else: planning, editing, formatting, positioning, and so on. There are so many pieces to the puzzle that it's easy to start feeling overwhelmed and stressed out. But what I've learned is that having the right tools at your disposal makes the entire process so much easier. Today, I want to share with you my top 10 tools for self-publishing authors. These are actual tools that I use and that I recommend to my clients. So let's get started. Hey there! If you're new here, I'm Amanda. On this channel, I share honest, practical advice for new authors navigating the self-publishing world. So if that's you, take a moment to like and subscribe so you don't miss any new videos. Now, in previous videos, I've talked about the 5 phases of self-publishing and how each one contributes to the end product of your book. Today, I want to discuss specific tools that can help you in each different stage. Also, full disclosure, I am an affiliate for a couple of these tools, but that's only because these were tools that I was already using, and so when I knew I was going to make this video, I reached out to the companies and asked them if they had affiliate opportunities. But I want you to know that every tool on this list is something that I actually use and really do recommend to my own clients. I would never recommend a tool that I didn't fully believe in. Also, I'll include links for each one of these tools in the description below so you can easily get to them if you decide to use them yourself. So let's go ahead and take a look at our different publishing phases and see which tools I recommend for each stage. We're going to get started with the writing and research phase, which many authors feel is arguably the most fun of all the phases. The tools that we're about to discuss are all tools that I've used in the past to help plan and write my stories. The first 2 are specifically helpful for fiction writers. So I want to start with Chaotic Shiny. This tool is less known than a lot of others on this list, but it's one of my favorites because it's free and it's so much fun to use. Chaotic Shiny is a collection of random generators for writers. We're talking character generators, culture generators, town name generators, and so much more. You could literally lose hours just clicking through the different generators on this website and come away with a plethora of new ideas. I use this tool when I'm brainstorming new ideas and figuring out world building details. Sometimes I can find a good name for a side character or spark new possibilities when I find myself stuck. This tool works best for fantasy and sci-fi writers, but even if you write contemporary fiction, the character quirk and personality generators are genuinely helpful for anyone. And again, it's free and fun to use. The next world building tool that I absolutely love is called World Anvil. This tool has everything, including organizational structures to keep track of world details, like characters, locations, religions, magic systems, and so much more. And it allows you to make beautiful maps for your world that you can share with your readers. I love that part. Every fantasy book needs a good map. All of this may sound like overkill for writers who base their books in real-life settings and situations. But for those of us who are building a newly structured world for our characters to interact in, World Anvil is a very powerful tool. Now, as we move on to the actual writing stage, there's a couple more tools that I think are really helpful. The first is called reversedictionary.com. You know that feeling when your writing flow gets interrupted because you can't quite think of the right word? You know there's a perfect word for what you're trying to say, but you just can't get it to come to your mind. What is that word for the feeling of nostalgia for a time you never actually lived in? Anemonia! That's right, there is an actual word for that kind of nostalgia, and reverse dictionary is how you find words like that. It's also great for avoiding repetition in your writing when you realize that you've used the same word 40 times and you need an alternative. I love this tool because once again, it's free and it really can help you overcome certain writing blocks. I often have it already up in my browser while I'm writing because I've found it invaluable when I need the right word. I recommend you check it out too. The next tool I recommend is one that hopefully most of you will recognize. This is a tool that I actually use to do most of my writing, and that is Google Docs. Some experienced writers may roll their eyes at this suggestion, but let me explain why I recommend it. I prefer using Google Docs for my writing because it's accessible from any device I'm working on. Whether I'm in a full writing session at my computer, or I'm waiting in line at the bank and finally figure out a scene that I've been thinking about forever. I can access my documents right from my phone and have a quick writing session anywhere I go. Also, Google Docs auto-saves to the cloud instantly. which means I'm less likely to lose work and it's easier to share my work with editors and beta readers. In fact, when I'm working through a developmental edit with one of my clients, I prefer that they put it in Google Docs because I can make comments in real time and get regular answers from them while I'm reading over their manuscript. It's also a great tool because it's one that many of us already use for other things. We don't have to spend a lot of extra time learning the software and figuring out how to make it work for us, which cuts down on frustration and confusion. Plus, Google Docs supports my specific writing process. I like to start a fresh document with each writing session, so I'm not tempted to go back and edit things that I've already written when it's not time for editing. Google Docs makes it really easy to keep all that organized. Now, for those of you looking for a more sophisticated writing software, I would also like to mention Scrivener as my bonus recommendation. Scrivener is a powerful tool for writers that allows you to lay out all of your chapters on digital index cards and rearrange things at will. It also allows you to link folders and documents to the project in specific sections, so you can easily reference the things you need while you're writing. I used to use Scrivener for several years. You pay a one-time fee, and then you have all of the writing and editing tools at your disposal. Honestly, the only reason why I stopped using Scrivener is because my writing process really needs a built-in cloud storage system. That's not something that you can get from Scrivener. However, many authors use this program with great success and really love it. So it's definitely worth looking into. The next tools on my list are really helpful for self-editing. I still highly recommend that most authors go through the full professional editing process to bring out the very best in your writing. However, the more polished your book is before you send it out to editors, the more bang you'll get for your buck. And this is where self-editing tools come in really handy. The first self-editing tool that I absolutely swear by is called Pro Writing Aid. I use this tool for everything from book writing to email drafting, because this isn't just a spell checker. Pro Writing Aid is a full manuscript analysis tool that's built especially for authors. It reads the entire manuscript and then generates reports such as overused words. It also flags any issues in your writing, such as too much passive voice, readability issues, and so much more. Also, it integrates directly with many of the popular writing tools, including Google Docs. Now, I know there are other similar tools out there like Grammarly and Hemingway, and a lot of authors really love those tools. The only reason I'm not recommending those here is because I've honestly never used them. I tried Pro Writing Aid first and never looked back because it had everything I needed. My second favorite editing tool is one that I highly recommend for the proofreading stage of your project, and that is Speechify's Natural Reader. This is one of the most powerful secrets to polishing your work. Listen to it. I'll admit, I totally underestimated how helpful this was when I first started. But honestly, listening to another voice read your words back to you can help you catch mistakes that you would have otherwise totally missed. Our brains often autocorrect our own work, which means we can easily overlook things like missing words, awkward phrasing, and clunky dialogue, because our brain already knows what we meant to say. But when you hear those words spoken out loud, your ears hear what is actually written, rather than what it was supposed to be. I used this tool when prepping my book to go to audio and found out that I had several small mistakes in my book that I had no idea about. They were little things like I missed the word it in a paragraph. But I was shocked that it had gotten past several editors and the proofreader, and these things had still not been caught. Natural Reader really helped me fix those problems. The program has a free tier that works pretty well, and there's also a premium option with better voice quality and longer reading sessions. Whichever option you choose, I'm sure you'll be glad you tried it. Real quick, before we get into the publishing tools, if you're finding this video helpful, please take a moment and smash that subscribe button. It really does help other authors find this content. Thank you. Next, I want to look at my favorite tools for prepping and launching your book. These tools can make the entire publishing process go so much more smoothly. The first on my list is Publisher Rocket. I use this tool constantly for both book positioning and marketing. Publisher Rocket is a research tool that pulls real data straight from Amazon, so it can help you make smarter publishing decisions. You can use it to research the right keywords, the perfect categories, and look at your best comp titles. The tools in Publisher Rocket allow you to research the individual keywords, check out the books already in specific categories, and it'll even tell you how many books you need to sell in order for your book to reach the top in that category. Publisher Rocket is hands down the most helpful tool for positioning your book that I have found in my publishing journey. It is a little more expensive than some of the other tools in this video. At the time that I'm filming this, you can get Publisher Rocket for a one-time fee of $97. And I'm telling you, if you're serious about finding the right readers, it's totally worth it. The next tool I have for you is another free resource, and it makes your distribution setup way simpler. This tool is Ingram Spark's free Trim Sizes Guide. This guide lays out exactly which sizes are standard and not standard, and explains which sizes are the most common in specific genres. Then you can plug your book's information into their spine and weight calculator and get the exact measurements that your book will have. I recommend bookmarking these tools, so whenever it's time to input all of your book's metadata, you'll have that information right at your fingertips. Tool number 9 is another free resource, and this one comes in incredibly handy when deciding on your book's pricing. As a new author, it's really important to make the right pricing decisions. Too high, and no one wants to buy the book. Too low, and you end up with little profit to show for your work. That's why I recommend using the Book Profit Calculator, available at thebookdesigner.com. This tool can help you figure out exactly how much your book is going to cost to print and calculate potential royalties based on your preferred pricing. You can also use Amazon KDP's royalty calculator. If you're publishing through KDP, this is a no-brainer. But I actually recommend using both, because you might get slightly different numbers between the two tools, and I like getting both answers for a clear estimate. Now, when it's finally time for formatting your book so that it looks professional, if you plan on doing it yourself, then I recommend Vellum. Vellum is an easy-to-use book formatting tool that can create absolutely beautiful ebooks and print files. The templates are gorgeous and professional. You simply input your manuscript, choose a style, make any preferred adjustments, and then export your print-ready PDFs and EPUB files. Now, this tool does cost some money. You can get Vellum for a one-time purchase of $199 to $250, depending on the tools that you need. But if you plan on formatting books yourself, this is definitely worth it. The only downside to Vellum is that it's currently only compatible with Mac. If you use a PC, you're not going to be able to use it. But don't worry, I have an alternative for you. If you're on PC, Atticus is a tool that you can use for both writing and formatting. It was developed by the same company as Publisher Rocket, so you know they know what they're doing. Atticus also requires a one-time purchase, which at this moment comes to $147. In my opinion, the templates on Atticus are not quite as striking as Vellum, but it gets the job done. And the team is constantly updating and improving the program. So let's do a quick recap of all the tools that we've talked about today. While brainstorming and world building, I recommend Chaotic Shiny for creative generation and World Anvil for organization and map creation. When you're in the writing phase, I mentioned using reversedictionary.org for finding the right words and Google Docs for the actual writing process. I also mentioned Scrivener as an alternative. For self-editing, I talked about using Pro Writing Aid for deep manuscript analysis and Speechify or Natural Reader for listening to your work read back to you. And then once you begin planning your publishing path, I suggest using Publisher Rocket for keyword and category research, the Ingram Spark Trim Sizes Guide for getting your print specs, and the Book Profit Calculator at thebookdesigner.com, plus KDP's free royalty calculator for making pricing decisions. And finally, for formatting the book, I recommend Vellum or Atticus if you don't have a Mac computer. Every tool on this list is one I've actually used. These are tools I recommend to all my author clients, and I think they would be really helpful for you in your publishing process as well. I left links to all of them in the description box below. Once again, if you found this content valuable, don't forget to like and subscribe. And also, I would love to hear your feedback. Have you used any of these tools before? What did you think of them? And are there any other tools that I left out that you would recommend? Share them in the comments so we can all check them out. Thank you for joining me today. And as always, happy writing!